Hello, I'm Tom Cahill on Sunday, the 20th of July 2014. I'm making this video due to the fact that some information's come to my attention. I'd had my doubts for a while and I didn't really want to say anything because I didn't have any evidence, but now things have changed. The subject matter is Chris Spivey, ChrisSpivey.org. That's his website, chrisspivey.org. And his link to Bill Maloney. Now, Bill Maloney and Chris Spivey are people who are apparently activists against various things in England, such as child abuse, child stealing, corruption in the government, and also with Chris Spivey, it's much wider. But with Bill Maloney, his thing is institutional child abuse. Now, I've mentioned in the past, I've done other videos which you can easily find on the same channel. There's lots of problems with this bill. A lot of these things won't be like smoking guns, but the thing is, you've got to understand that when you know about disinformation people and COINTELPROs, you don't get smoking guns. They're not going to admit to being one. Do you know what I mean? There's various things, like their association is one thing you can tell a lot from. Now, Chris Spivey always sort of he's very clear that he doesn't really want to have anything to do with anybody else. So that could be a cover because he is a COINTELPRO, because a lot of people spot them because they never criticise each other or attack each other, or they're not getting attacked. And the other thing that they do is they stick up for each other, and they always seem to like basically just appear in the same place at the same time. So they're basically just like a little army of people, all apparently they just happen to be in the same place at the same time and talking about the same things, have the same interests and all the same things, and back each other up on everything, and always come out with the same new subject at the same time, that type of stuff. So you don't get concrete proof. Now, the point with him is, in his defence, his website, he does very good, lots of good articles, like mathematically very good. The point is, I believe, right, and this is definitely the case with Bill Maloney. Just let me make this very clear. Bill Maloney, there's no question, he is a COINTELPRO agent. Now, I don't know if he even knows he is one, because I used to think he must. Well, I used to think he's just as thick as fuck and he's danger. Then I thought he's as thick as fuck and he's a danger and he's an arrogant prick, which is just what I imagined just from looking at things he wrote and did, and like things he said and all these ridiculous interviews he does. And then I realised there's more to it, and he couldn't possibly be that stupid, and he must be getting paid. He must be getting paid by, or he must be an agent of some sort or another. He's not running off his own steam, because he's so stupid. There's no way he could think of an effective tactic to bring his agenda to the fore on his own, because he is absolutely thick as fuck, right? Now, I've realised for a long time, because I said I'm digressing here, but you'll see how it links. His aim, I know for a fact, is to lower the age of consent and link sodomy and stuff like that to paedophilia, and say that, oh, they're gays is good, paedophilia is bad, and obviously ignoring all the links between gays and paedophilia. Now, I'll put it in here now. I know not all gays are paedophiles, but I do know that people who want to interfere with young men. There's this fixation with, well, there's nothing wrong with having a fixation with young men if you're a young woman, I suppose, or a woman, whatever. And if it was the other way around, it wouldn't really be seen as sick. But the whole thing is, if you've got a man sniffing around after like a sort of like 14-year-old, even an 18-year-old or a 13-year-old, we might say, well, the 13-year-old knows what they're doing, but they're not really that grown up, and it's very easy for you to kind of force them to do things because they just feel a bit awkward, they don't know what to do. Because with lots of people, you can actually tongue tie them. It's not a matter of like every rapist. They don't have to like necessarily fight their opponent off. They might just sort of, it's kind of like a mind game. How I think a lot of you will understand. Now, so there is a link, and I know David Cameron, the big boss of the country, the PM. Well, he's not the boss of anything, is he? But he's been on the TV recently when they talked about institutional abuse within the ex-Tory cabinet, and he said that that abuse, we don't want to have a gay witch hunt. So he's trying to realign sodomy with the quit gayness, right? So what they've done is what the Jews have done, the social Marxists. They've persuaded everybody that these gays are persecuted, you should leave them alone to start off with. Then they said, even if they're in public toilets, the police shouldn't go around just beat the shit out of them all the time like what they used to in the good old days. Because, of course, they shouldn't be hanging around public toilets where children go in. It's absolutely disgusting. Even if I was one, I would think that was disgusting, and I know most ones think it's disgusting. So what you remember with gays is it's a slippery slope, because you've got these ones who are kind of quite conservative, just, you wouldn't even know they were gay. or they might be a bit fruity, but they don't go pushing it in your face because they know it's abnormal, but they just do it because they can't help it or whatever. And they can be quite normal. And I know lots of people I've known lots of gays over the years, and I don't find myself hating them or anything like that normally. But the point is, that's the agenda. The agenda is make them think it's okay, make them think they're persecuted. Again, it's the Jewish trick, isn't it? It's like, oh, blacks are persecuted. Then people start going, oh, poor blacks. Oh, don't be racist. Racism's bad. And then it's like, oh, we're persecuted because we're a race. Oh, so they brought it in the back of blacks. And with the gay thing, it's like, oh, they're victims. Oh, you mustn't say bad things about, oh, they're a different type of person. And then of course they go, oh, poor Jews. You know what I mean? It's the way it works. Now with this one, what they're trying to do is they're trying to get people to now what they call celebrate diversity. Now, celebrate diversity. Diversity means sexual depravity and dishonesty. That's what it means. It's basically euphemism for the Talmud. That's what it basically is. Talmudic exploitation of the goyim. That's what it means. That's what diversity means. It's absolutely, completely meaningless in the context it's kind of ventured in society, but it just does not mean anything. And in England, if you go on the unemployment benefit and you're on for quite a while, you can do various courses, and one of the courses you can do is in diversity. You can do things in learn to word process, learning to do various different skills like food hygiene certificates, stuff like that. But you can do one in diversity. Now, if that's not the sodomification of England, I don't know what is. It's basically trying to legalise all the Jewish crimes, even things that previously Jews would have actually shied away from mainly and kept behind closed doors. They're bringing it all out in the open, like Sodom and Gomorrah and Babylon and stuff like that. I mean, probably if the people in Babylon and Sodom and Gomorrah went to England nowadays, they'd probably be surprised at the amount of homos and just general freaks, and the amount of freaks we've got running the country. Because I mean, I can't imagine in Sodom and Gomorrah or Babylon they'd have been voting these freaks into office, even if they were just puppets. I mean, some of the ones we've got in England are absolute ugly freaks. I mean, in America they don't have ugly freaks in office, do they? So why do they have them in England? It's very, very weird. Australia, they don't have ugly freaks in politics. New Zealand, they do. It's weird because it's the Anglo-Saxon world, but it's different. Anyway, I'm digressing. The point is, the agenda, I just need to make it very clear. The agenda is to make people think gays are brilliant, right? But that was for an incremental process of making people think it's just now of order. You can't go around and persecuting people, not giving them a job because they're a puffer, like it's not on. And they sort of think, well, that's fair enough, yeah. And then they just keep creeping in. Once that's allowed, 10 years later, they bring in something else. And the reason that you can tell these cycles, what brings it home to you is I knew this guy who used to be in the police. And he used to have, as one of his jobs, he used to go around beating up gays in toilets and stuff who were like cottaging. That's what they call them when they go hanging around and proposition and having sex with young children or young men in toilets. It's called cottaging in England, right? So one of their official duties was going around beating them up. So that guy's only probably 38 now, maybe 36, maybe something like 36, something like that. So he's not even old. No, he's about 36, 35 maybe even. So he's not really old. And so when I knew him was the police, when he'd given it up about 6 years ago. So you've got to remember that in that time, it'd gone from beat them up to like people going to nightclubs and it'd be full of them, or there'd be like gay pride marches, and a lot of the people who would have been supporting beating them up would be going along to these marches just because it's a good day out and they got to take loads of drugs and get really drunk. Yeah, so it's this complete normalisation of it. Absolutely disgusting. Right now, Spivey has been very clear in the past, got to be fair to him, that gayness isn't really normal, but you mustn't persecute, and that's his angle. But he says, it's clearly unnatural. So he's got a very sensible angle about it, and he's also said he's made the link between paedophilia and gayness. And he says, that they're much more likely to abuse children. So of course, if you're picking a childminder act, you had to. Would you really go for a man who was gay? I mean, would you go for a man at all? That's what his attitude is, because they're much more likely to sexually abuse children. So and I think it's completely logical, completely rational. 100%, kind of like continuity in his logic. The thing is that the very obvious COINTELPRO, and I hate to say he's dangerous because I think he's flushed. I think he's swirling down the toilet bowl as we speak. That's what I think he's going into a tailspin, because I don't think he's convincing as many people or significant people as he would want to. This Bill Maloney, he actually. He's head over heels about anything gay or deviant of that nature between adults right now, and he never makes the link between these people sodomising children and young adults in like borstals and stuff, and the fact that that will often turn them into homos. Like, oh, we never go near that. Now, obviously, we know that does turn them into homos. Very often, it fucks them up, and often it turns them into pedos. So you've got people being fucked around with in their formative years, and I don't want to put an age on it because different people is a different age, but you know, if they're under sort of 25 or something, they're still in their formative years. So if they get interfered with, you know, in a kind of unequal relationship, you know, it is kind of like pedoing, even though it's not pedoing because they're a grown up, but it's kind of the same kind of relationship, even though it's obviously a watered down version, but it still has the same negative effects on the child or the young man or the young woman or whatever. Right, and of course if it's of a perverse nature and it's not heterosexual based, and it's actually based on some kind of abuse and not sex, but, you know, sadomasochistic weirdness, then that's definitely going to be very likely not to be good for them. Right, so there are differences between these people, and there has been differences, right, and this is what I'd like to make very clear. My only problem with Spivey was, where was he getting his money from? As in, he could be doing it all off his own back, he could be, and off donations, he really could be doing that. I've got no particular reason to doubt it, but then there's all the other problems with he says bad things about people. I've had experience with the courts in England are very, very bent, especially the Queen's Bench Division. You've got to remember that, you know, like the McAlpine site with Sally Burko, that went through the Queen's Bench Division, and they basically said, you know, they just do cover-ups for pedos, cover-ups for big business. So what they do is they get law-abiding people and start putting gag orders on them because they probably didn't even know about the court case. And next thing, they're getting picked up by the police and on remand in prison because they've broken a court order. They didn't even know there had been a court case, and they're just talking about something they've seen that's happened or something like that. Absolute complete disgrace. So I know how the Queen's Bench Division works. It's a disgrace. I don't know if all the judges are bent. Quite a few of them are extremely bent and overtly bent, and they'll even say things in open court which, you know, technically are very seriously criminal. And I'm not talking about emotive instances here about things like harassment and stuff like that. I'm talking about you saying something about a criminal organisation and then protecting the criminal organisation and not allowing you to hear your evidence and stuff like that, even if you've got concrete evidence, you know, absolutely beyond reasonable doubt proving they've done something wrong or very badly wrong. That it's absolutely totally corrupt. So with my knowledge of that, I know that there's very little chance Chris Spivey wouldn't be just totally encumbered with constant court cases coming in, and he'd just be getting fucked around with left to right, and he wouldn't really be able to get what he gets done. So I find that hard to believe. Right. So this is where it got strange. About 2 days ago, he did an article, and if you search for Keith Josephs with an S on the end, right, this guy was called Keith Josephs, and it was all about what you do if your children, you know, you're going to get taken by the government and you don't know what to do. He was saying Keith Josephs is a very good person to get in touch with. He's very strict. He'll basically, he's got lots of money. He'll give you his time, and he'll even pay for your flights and stuff out of the country if he thinks it's necessary, and he has done on many occasions. But the point is, if you don't take his advice and you start like letting the social workers in your house or something, he'll just think you're a load of fucking idiots. You're a write-off. I need to deal with people who've got a chance of getting out the country or fighting the situation before it comes to the fact that the social workers are in your house making stuff up about you. And trying to take your children for systematic torture and abuse and kidnapping and raping and eventually murdering, which happens to lots of children we're now finding all around the world, in the Western world and in just as well as in the developing world. Anyway, right. So this is the point. This article, very good. It was really quite a good article. Point is, I looked at it, and because I'm in a different time zone, he would have done it at night time. And I looked at this article later on, and what I found was, wait, stop it! Dogs trying to hunt the other dog. They're both female dogs, and they get all frustrated and they start making loads more noise. They're still trying to do it. Anyway, yeah. So basically, what he's done an all right. I'm in a different time zone, so I looked at this article, and there'd been one comment, and a comment from the moderators back to it. Now, the comment that was made said something like, I can't really remember. It said something about. It mentioned something about. It was a bit. It said something about single mothers often take known paedophiles in because they're naive and they don't really know what they're doing, and that's where a lot of pedos get into the family network. And then the guys got back onto him and said, no, that's not on. And he's basically been quite abusive. He's been like putting him down. He hasn't just said it in an abjective way. He's done it in a offensive way, which is fair enough. But it was inappropriate. And I've just said, well, that's actually true, because the first three things that a paedophile looks for, in many instances, well, no, in virtually all instances, not having the father there. 2, not having the father there. 3, not having the father there. And I put a caveat. I said, and that might be the actual biological father, or it could be the maybe the an adopted father or something, if in the context of before the abuse began, because I don't know, because some people make a big differentiation. They think it's quite different if they're the biological father or not. I really don't know, because of course if you don't have any interest in having sex with children, then the whole thing just doesn't really make any sense. So whether if I had some children, I'd want to do things to them, and some you obviously don't want to. So and it's sort of very, very weird. You wouldn't want to do it to yourself, let alone them. So the whole thing is very, very sick. Anyway, point I'm trying to make is this guy kind of attacked this guy, and I thought that's a bit strange. And I thought, hang on a minute. But then down a bit further, one of them, there were comments like later on in the day, and it seemed a lot of people kind of like attacking what I'd said. And they were going, not all single mothers are stupid and bored. And I didn't say they were stupid and bored. I said a lot of single mothers are extremely bored at home all day. And, they're an easy target. They've got nothing to do. Someone befriends them, is nice to them. Well, they're obviously going to reciprocate, aren't they? Because they've got nothing else to do. And then they will start getting back. Now, again, I don't know if these are just well-meaning idiots, or people who can't be bothered to read things properly, or people who get overtaken with emotions and their brain switches off, which a lot of people's does. And what they were doing is they're getting back, and they were saying, I'm a single mum, and I had a very high-skilled job. You're very rude. And you're like, what the fuck has that got to do with anything? Well, of course, lots of high-skilled women are single mothers. And then they leave their children with whoever will take them, because they're doing a high-flying job. The pedos are being there as well. You see what I mean? I'm not picking on single mothers. And then there was like loads of these articles. I don't think it's fair to pick on single mothers. Who would say? And then there's other one saying, to blame the increase in paedophilia on single mothers and put them out for special abuse is totally ludicrous. But nobody's done that. Do you see what I mean? And nobody said there is an increase. And then they were saying all this stuff, and every single thing they said was off topic. And I started thinking off what was actually being said. And they were doing this about me and this other guy called Nick. And then the next thing, now I don't normally comment and then look back at the comment. I'll just put the comment and leave it, and I might look back at it maybe later to see if anyone's got back at it. But it's not something I really don't look at these forums very much. But the point is, you've got these 3 moderators on his site. You've got a lady who does his Facebook. Now, with my experience of the last couple of days, I would never have seen this, because I don't pay that much attention to these things. But it's quite clear. They said to this Nick, they said, we binned you because I put up before somewhere that you've got to stop arguing and being controversial or something like that and stay on topic. Now, this guy obviously was on topic, and who said you're not allowed to be controversial? The whole point of having a debate is yeah. And then they're also writing, of course we like debate and fair comment, and a bit of kind of basically we like it and then we don't like it, and it's not allowed and it is allowed, and we allow it and we don't allow it. This is the kind of thing they're saying. But just like this sort of stereotypical Jewish way of doing things, right? What they do is they accuse you of what they're going to do to you. So what they say to me is they say, right, you can call us all the names you want, but I've never called them any names, and you can accusing us of being paedophiles is sick. I never accused them of being paedophiles. And then they say, and then they started saying, you're one of these comments, because I don't know if these are idiots or actually part-time agents or full-time employees of this project, because I believe there's a possibility they're on this project now, and there's a lot of paid people doing it. One of them said, he said, I don't know what Tom the cunt or whatever said, but I don't know why you put up with it. It's completely out of order. He's obviously got an agenda. The cunt, what a twat. Thank God we've got rid of him. And you're like, well, what agenda? And people say he's got an agenda, but they don't actually seem to feel the need to say what the agenda is. And there's all these comments, very, very negative, loads and loads of them, all not actually commenting on what I'd said, but calling me various names. And I've only had one of them call me names once before, and it was this woman, I think it's called Mel. Now, Mel C or something. But this Mel obviously looks at all these comments, and this is the thing I noticed, because when I was looking down, you've got to remember, you've got like a comment, and then you've got a reply. You can reply to that comment, but you couldn't reply from a comment. You just have to put it in the same kind of little thread. But they're all sequential. They're not going off in little tree diagrams. Do you know what I mean? And you're not clicking on a comment and having all the comments off it separate. So it gets a bit confusing. Now, what these moderators are obviously doing is they're spending, it must take hours, and this Mel C must be doing it, is they're spending hours looking at the comments all the way down to the bottom, then looking back and looking in between. And, you know, this would be like looking over a sort of 10,000 word essay or something and trying to find bits in it. If you only you've done that kind of, you know, a dissertation or something, it's very difficult to actually track down, you know, especially the scroller, because the scroll goes up too far and then down. It's very, very difficult, and you don't want to just press down because it would take you literally like an hour to go down all the comments. It takes a long time. Now, this is the thing. So, Chris Spivey, I used to think he was okay. Well, I didn't think he was okay. I said I didn't have anything negative I could think about him. And I still, technically speaking, this could still be the case, and I'll explain that in a minute. But the point is, you've got 3 of these moderators who are constantly on there. And when you see how long it takes just to read these comments, some of them quite long and stuff like that, and then look at constantly re-looking at each of these comments to see if someone's replied, it becomes like, it's a major task. Now, I cannot believe that somebody be doing that for free all the time, because ultimately it's pointless. And the thing is, it's the height of hypocrisy for somebody who's got like a site that's about truth to be saying, you mustn't talk about that thing, you mustn't say that, or you know, and people who he's obviously, Chris Spivey's always calling people names and stuff, for him to say, oh, you mustn't question one of my sort of like somebody's comment or say something that might possibly slightly offend them. that doesn't make any sense. And the fact that you'd have 3, what I presume are grown men, spending their entire time reviewing these comments to make sure, you know, nobody breaks their rules, it's beyond the pale. As I said, mathematically, that does not make sense. Now, these 3 moderators, right, there's also one on the Facebook page. It's a lady. I don't look at the Facebook page. I can't really comment on that. And she uses a proper name, or at least it's a proper name. It could be a proper name. Now, these 3 plonkers call themselves, one of them calls himself Wolfie, one of them calls himself Dogman, and one of them calls himself Gallows. Now, Wolfie is the kind of, probably the more standout one. Him and this Dogman generally make, you know, kind of quite educated comments. They've got lots of links. They obviously know a lot of stuff. But all of a sudden on this one, it's like they've kind of like stopped making intelligent comments, and they've started like just agreeing with all the idiots, the mob of idiots. Or are they idiots, or are they just pretending to be idiots and actually paid Jewish subversives? That's what I'm thinking they probably are, or possibly are. I don't know. It doesn't make any difference. A lot of people get tricked into doing the Jewish dirty work, don't they? That's why Jews are so unpopular in lots of countries, because they get other people to like murder their neighbours and stuff, and they find out it was all the big Jewish plot, and they get expelled, don't they? That's how it happens. That's how, you know, all the big genocides and stuff happens normally, like the Ukrainian, not the Ukrainian genocide. No, that was just Jews actually importing Jews to murder everyone, wasn't it? But you know, there would have been people who weren't Jews involved with going along with them and stuff like that. And of course, the Armenian genocide and stuff like that. So the whole, and of course, you know, you don't have to actually murder a load of people to do something wrong. They're always doing something wrong. The point is with this one is you've got to remember that in England, all the MPs now, virtually all of them are gay. I mean, all of them are perverts. I don't know if they're gay or not, but all of them, you know, they seem to be very tolerant of paedophilia and all sorts of sick stuff like that. And lots of them have actively campaigned to have, you know, sex with children legalised. Now, if you're an MP and you spent your entire time going on about that, I mean, you know, like especially your cabinet minister, I mean, what on earth? Like, if you, like, let's say you're 20 and you want to shag a 15-year-old, you might think it was a big deal when you were 20, but by the time you're 25, you probably decided, oh well, it wasn't that big of a deal anyway. I should have just done it and not told anyone or whatever. But the point is that with these people, these are like in their 60s, and they've just been going on about it the whole time. It makes no sense whatsoever. You see, so these people are sick. They're very sick. Harriet Harman, Tessa Jow, what's the other one? Oh fuck, I don't even remember their names. Theresa May. She's the Home Secretary. She's dodgy, but she's not a Labour one. The Labour ones are even worse than the Tories, which I never thought I'd ever catch myself saying. But yeah, they're even worse, I think. Anyway, the point is, it's Chris Spivey and this guy, Bill Maloney, both use bad language, which can easily be used to discredit them in the moron British public eyes. So why put it in? That's why I think. Why would you put, or why put loads of it in? It doesn't really make any sense, and all that type of stuff. The point is, though, in this latest little thing I've come across, they're kind of contradicting each other, because they're not contradicting each other anymore, because of course, like I said, Chris Spivey was like, he says gays is, you would never say gays naturally, he wouldn't be one of these people who celebrates it. He thinks that's ridiculous, or at least he says he does. And he says, and of course he makes the link between gays and being paedophiles more often. All these things, he links them. Bill Maloney's total opposite. Bill Maloney endorses Peter Tatchell, who's a disgusting person who wants to lower the age of consent so he can go around chatting up children in sweet shops. He's an absolute disgusting pervert. Constantly on the BBC, the paedophile network, paedophile TV network that most idiot British people pay a couple £100 a year to watch, even though they don't have to. So England is absolutely in the pedo camp. Everybody loves pedos in England, even though they say they don't. They're actually financing it. So Peter Tatchell, that's where a lot of your license pay goes to people like him to go around saying that children want to have sex with adults and it doesn't do them any harm. I looked at something actually the other day. It's actually quite amusing. He said, I know quite a few people who had sex with adults, and it's very enjoyable between the ages of 9 and 15, and it never made them turn out strange. So there'd be like a fucking rampant paedophile, fucking sodomite who hangs around, who tolerates him. Now then they're normal. They're obviously not normal, are they? The thing is, it is quite amusing when you actually see how sick these people are. You have got to laugh at them. So Bill Maloney loves him. I reckon if Chris Spivey was asked, just taken out last week because things have seemed to be changing, he would have said, no, he's a disgusting pervert who wants to lower the age of consent. And he did a very insightful bit of talking once where he explained how, there's no good intention behind these people because they're all in their 50s and stuff and they're trying to lower the age of consent. They're not trying to do it so that a 15-year-old doesn't get sent to prison for shagging a 13-year-old, or a 20-year-old doesn't get sent to prison for shagging a 15-year-old. That's what, that could be somebody have a bit of concern about that because their constituents or something, if they're an MP, might have had a problem and it's got a kid in prison who's not really done anything really that anyone really considers that wrong. It's just been a bit lucky with the numbers sort of thing. No malicious intent. So there's that. But this is the point. Now all of a sudden, Chris Spivey's full-time, as it seems, volunteers are going around making up stories about comments, removing them, changing them, banning people, calling them names, accusing them of being paedophiles, accusing them, saying that they call, saying you can use all the names you like, and they haven't called them any names, and they've just made points. This is very unusual because in the past I only saw 1 or 2 instances of this happening, and whenever I saw these things happening, it's just 1 or 2 things, and again, you couldn't work out from the comments what they actually said. And this is the thing: if you look at that particular that website, you'll realise that thing doesn't make any sense because you can't really see what they're objecting to. So you might think, oh, they must have a fair point, but they don't have a fair point because you can't actually see what the article is that people have said. And they were like misquoting people. That's the other thing they were doing, and then objecting to the misquote. It's absolutely outrageous. And again, going to the ridiculous length of saying that. To say that one group, i.e. single mothers, are causing the massive increase in paedophilia and blaming it on them is absolutely outrageous. Well, of course it's outrageous. They just said it themselves. No one else has said it. So it's quite amusing. But again, it's typical COINTELPRO tactics. But, this is to cater for a very low level of retard audience. Now, I have to say something here, which is, from my own personal point of view, my own everything to do with me. If you get into a kind of tittle-tattle argument with someone who's constantly using bad language and just saying you're the cunt, whatever, you're a pedo or whatever, you get to the point where you're just going to look like an idiot talking to them. So you've got to be very short and sharp with these people and pick up, just to don't get into the ins and outs of, the what do you call it, the vitriol of it. You just say, no, that's wrong because of this or whatever. And, maybe you should stop using such bad language. And check to read over what you say so that the grammar makes sense, because it's not quite clear what you're saying there, or what you're objecting to, or why I'm whatever you think you want to call me, or why you think it's going to strengthen your argument. That kind of thing. You put stuff like that. That's the way you make intelligent people realise that you are way above the people you're having an argument with, or not having an argument with. They're attacking you. You're wondering why they're doing it and asking them to clarify the position. The point is, at the same time, I'm not sure because I'm not in England now, but over the last few days there's been a lot of movement about the endemic paedophile problem in Parliament. Now, they keep using the word historic paedophilia, as in it's happened, and it infers that it's happened and it's finished. Do you see what I mean? It kind of gives the person the impression in their mind, history is in the past, therefore it's happened and it's over. So that's obviously a trick, and people have actually picked up on that. And I think actually someone did on Chris Spivey's website. I think one of his little goons did. But the point is, this thing and this Bill Maloney all links together, because Bill Maloney yesterday, or was it the day before, he was at an anti-child abuse rally and he filmed it, put it up on the internet straight away, and it was put on the same article on the Spivey website as I've talked about. Now, there was never really much of a mention of Bill Maloney on his website very much in the past, but all of a sudden it's almost like he's disappeared off the scene, and he's got these plonkers coming in, putting up a article about Keith Joseph just at the right time that this anti-child abuse thing comes out. It's quite a simple article, anyone could have written it. It's almost like they've written it, and he's written it, and then he hasn't actually seen any of the comments. He could quite easily have been hijacked. They could have just hijacked his little situation, because that Chris Spivey, whatever you say of him, he has got quite a lot of integrity, right? Because he, for instance, won't take any source and write it down unless he knows a lot of stuff about it. Now, I know you can be a good disinformation agent and actually give all the sources and just deliberately miss things out and interpret things wrong. Lies by omission. It's easy enough done. Point is, I'm not saying he's a disinformation agent, and I'm actually not saying his website's bad, but I am saying that his website is tainted by these weird moderators who seem to have like 12-hour-day shifts each, and they just constantly look at all these little messages to ban people all of a sudden, and to check all of them. And when you realise how much work it is, because of my insight that I've got over the last couple of days, you realise that this is just totally unnatural. Right now, if they're not getting paid to do that, they've obviously got to have something seriously wrong with them, yeah? And, you know, it's very, very, very strange. And the fact they're trying to stifle debate when somebody's not using any not using any kind of attacks on anyone, not being what you call like kind of personally offensive, and other people are being personally offensive to them, and they're leaving that up there. And actually, they've taken some of them down now because there's people just slagging me off, and you can't see the comment anymore. So you know, it just looks ridiculous. It's just like it's an article about Tom Cahill. By the way, some of them are talking. What a cunt I am. Yeah. I don't know, but the thing is, you know, some people, they're used to being abused. It doesn't bother them anymore. You get used to it by the time they're about 10, and then, you know, it's walks off a duck's back. It really doesn't bother me. It just sort of bothers me why they would do it, because it's a bit sort of childish and weird. That's the way I see it. Not that I don't occasionally abuse people, but, you know, it has to be in a certain context, and that is not the correct context. Right, so the upshot is, for rightly or for wrongly, Chris Spivey's website is getting used to promote Bill Maloney. Bill Maloney is a COINTELPRO, and he's got a pro-paedophile agenda. He wants to get rid of the age of consent, and he wants to have an amnesty for paedophiles who expose the establishment paedophile abuse. But the point is, the establishment isn't a person, so can't go to prison. So if you just say, oh yeah, I was in a prison and I started raping children, sorry, a boss started to rape the children, and these other guys did it and they're all dead, and they go, oh yeah, right, you let you off. It would be just like in South Africa when they had the Truth and Reconciliation thing, and they decided whether they'd let. It's a bit more complicated. You didn't just get let off automatically, but you had to apply for it, and you had to admit to something to apply for it. So you had to actually. So it was a bit more complicated. So you actually had to say what crime you did, which you want to be forgiven for. But then it was kind of used as a kind of just cover-all for all the crime. But technically, they could have picked you up and go, "What about that crime?" Well, that's a death penalty, whatever it is now. You know, 100 years in prison for killing somebody because you didn't mention that one. You know, see what I mean? So the whole thing is not actually as straightforward as what you think, that Truth and Reconciliation thing. But basically, it's just a cover to let all of those black terrorists off, and they were terrorists. They did murder loads of people, mainly blacks, as always with blacks. They generally target blacks. Now, obviously, in South Africa, they also target lots of whites, but you've got to remember that when someone slags blacks off for killing people, you know, for whatever social circumstances that caused it, they do generally seem to go for their own kind, which is, I don't really understand it, but, you know, you're like in London, if you're stabbed, more likely to get stabbed if you're black than you're white. You're more likely to get shot if you're black than you're white, but you're also more likely to get picked up for having a knife if you're black, and you also might get picked up with a gun if you're black. But you see, I mean, it's a bit confusing. Point with this Spivey thing, if you get onto this subject with him, is this whole thing with Maloney trying to like get an amnesty on paedophiles to expose the establishment is clearly divisive. You know, I mean, I don't think he's come up with it himself, because if you came up with that and you're like one of the working class people who goes on, put them up against the wall and shoot them, like, you know, they just go around, you know, like there was one in Wales. This mob went round someone's house because of a paediatrician, that's a child doctor, and they basically burn his house down or something. They're just thick as fuck. The British public are thick as fuck like that. So you've got to be very clear, like if you're going for the kind of like aggravation method, for Bill Maloney to go and say there should be an amnesty, even though there might be an argument for it, that's not the kind of argument you want to broach in just, a kind of bullet point. If you had 10 bullet points, that wouldn't be one of your bullet points you'd want to like be known about. Yeah. Talking about swearing, wanting an amnesty on paedophiles, befriending Peter Tatchell, constantly going on about how good gay people are. I mean, what the fuck is that all about? That's completely fucked up. That is not going to get the support of the intelligent public, and it's not going to get the support of the mass either. So it's obviously divisive. This is what I'm trying to say. And as I said, swearing is a cover. Right, so the swearing, or I say swearing, they call it swearing. It's not swearing, is it? It's bad language. It's not calling the Lord's name in vain. These people are getting pulled closer together. They're saying, Chris Spivey's saying lots of stuff new. Bill Maloney's never said anything new. He's never said anything of significance. He just starts saying, it's the Queen. He's just a fucking idiot, right? But why is he getting linked to Chris Spivey? I'm not saying Chris Spivey's got anything to do with it. He might really not really know what's going on. But the point is, they're compromised now, and all of his little goons on his site were all attacking me in a very kind of... It was like they obviously couldn't say anything about anything I'd said, because nothing I said was wrong. So they had to take some of the comments away and then start talking about things that I'd said which weren't actually said, that they'd taken away. And then they had all these other little people who may or may not all be in league with them, but at least they could just be saddos who think they're in a little gang, and they're all going along with it as well. I'll just take you through the 3 moderators that I came across, right? Because I'd like to know who they all are, please. If you know, I don't really care, but if someone knows, just say, oh, he's such and such. He's that loser who just hangs around at home all the time, and he lives near me, and he's a twat. Yeah, then that will probably devastate that person. It's very useful information. In an information war, you might not think it's relevant, but you've got to remember these people are the enemy, and if you can destroy them by finding out bad stuff about them, and I'm not talking about bad stuff that's irrelevant, but like they've been lying about this thing, deliberately deceiving, doing Brian Gerrish type behaviour, losing people's court documents, saying you can represent them in court when you can't, getting them to agree to leave the court case if you get kicked out because you're their legal representative and you're not allowed. So then everyone walks out of the court case and people never see the children again, don't even know what the judge said. Absolute scum behaviour. If you found someone doing that kind of stuff once, they're a cunt. There's no way they can be good, and there's no way anyone should have anything to do with them. So, just to take you through them, you've got Dogman, Wolfie, like Wolf, I.E., I think, and you've got Gallows. Gallows seems to be the less sophisticated one. He doesn't really say anything factually intelligent. It's always emotionally based, and he even said to me, if I'd have been in charge, you'd have been gone long ago. And it's like, well, hang on a minute. If nobody's ever even objected to anything you've ever said, ever, I hardly think you'd be on the cusp of being got rid of. Do you see what I mean? You'd think they'd pick it. No one's ever picked up anything I've said that I'm not aware of their little moderators anyway. So there's that. And only ever once one of their little sidekicks did, called Mel C. She's just an abusive. I think she's just like a late middle-aged sort of like washed out loser who just spends her whole time on the computer because she's got nothing else to do. Probably Facebook's, making her go blind because of the blue and the white. She just has to change it to black and grey once in a while to look at his site, because it's black and grey normally. I don't know. But the point is, so you got him, then you got the other two, who come out often with quite well-observed points, and they've often got very good references behind them, which is why I think they're not just idiots, and they really don't take it personally. They're just pretending to. Or, of course, if they're Jewish subversives, they take everything personally, and they will be vindictive, but they'll also be working to a plan. The fact they don't use the handles is another. I mean, they use handles is another good reason that they're probably Jews. Not probably Jews. That's what Jews often do. Jews often use their real name, but subversive Jews very often don't want to use their real name because they've got lots of different subversive operations, either simultaneously or they'll get moved on to something else when they get discovered for being a Jewish subversive. So what happens is you've got this other one called Wolfie. Now, whenever Wolfie writes anything, he always writes at the end of it, legal advisor to Titworth and Grab, called Grabbe. And it's like, what? Yeah, right, okay. Right, so it's sort of like innuendo, tits, grab. Sort of, oh yeah, that's sort of funny. maybe once, but he puts that after every single comment. So let's say again, if you look at some of these things, they might have 250 comments, and 20 of them might be the moderators or more. So you've got him writing this little blurb where he's going, yes, Tipworth and Grab advisors or whatever, and you just think, what kind of wanker would do that again and again and again and again and again and again and again? Now, I understand sometimes it's funny to have a little punchline, but when you're trying to be clever and trying to make profound, important points, why would you do that? Obviously not a proper grown-up, or he's pretending not to be one, yeah? Because this guy's not uneducated, he knows quite a lot of stuff. But again, this also makes it very suspicious when he then starts picking me and this other character up when we just said some like completely innocent comment which is totally on the topic, and they're saying, you're just trying to stir up arguments, that's for the forum, now you're banned from the site, you don't have a say, call us any names you like, you are an idiot, you are a troll, you are a cunt or whatever. Very, very, very childish. And then there's the other one called Dogman, and I don't even know if he actually wrote anything to me, because the two of them did, the other two did, and they're just basically saying, you've been got rid of because you're a twat and you've got no voice here anymore. And it's just like as if I would care. And the other thing they're trying to say, you're just trying to make yourself famous on YouTube, and it's just like, if I wanted to make myself famous on YouTube, I'd pretend that I had lots of secrets to get women into bed or something like that. You just do something like that and you get millions of hits. So it's clearly not that I'm trying to get famous on YouTube, and of course you're not going to make any money from this either. So it's absolutely not. Oh yeah, a make money quick scheme. Now I do use YouTube for other things a little bit, and I'm expanding. I've only just started to do it, but again, it's this idea that I'm trying to get to be famous on YouTube, and I think I'm clever. Well, I am clever, so that's fair enough. They can say I think I'm clever all that they want, because I am very clever and people constantly commenting on it. So that's fine. But the point is, modesty aside, the whole thing doesn't make sense. This link between Spivey and Bill Maloney, it's very suspicious. It goes against what Chris Spivey's intelligent, there's no question about it. He's got lots of integrity in his kind of quality of his work. He seems to have possibly self-sabotaged with the bad language, like the gratuitous use of like foul, descriptive bad language. It's not very nice. I don't even like repeating because it makes me look bad repeating it. But apart from that, excellent. And of course, different people have got different thresholds to these things, So, he might not find any problem with it. And he's from Essex. And certain parts of the country, they do speak in a sort of horrible way. Where I'm from, they do. So, a lot of them do speak in a horrible way. But, so it's just the way they speak. Anyway, I just wanted to put it out there. There's something very weird going on in the government at the minute. If you know, Bill Maloney apparently scared the Prime Minister away from Deputy Prime Minister away from the press conference recently to give him cover, and he was covered on the news doing it. Absolute bullshit story. No one runs away from some guy just because he starts shouting at them at a press conference. They just tell him to fuck off and they just film it again. That's what they do. It's only a 2 or 3 minute photo opportunity. Absolute rubbish. He would be out, he'd be told, shut up, look, he's talking, shut up, you're in the way, and that next thing, you'd be getting dragged off by security. I absolutely guarantee that's what happened to him. Didn't happen, 100%. He shot his bolt there. I don't know whether that's like they're thinking, oh no, everyone's caught onto him being a dickhead, we need him to actually appear to be doing something, or whether it was just some kind of big accident. But this computer's just getting extremely hot. I'm trying to just keep it off the table. But anyway, yeah, so that's it. I've been going on a bit at the end, and it trailed out quite badly. But the point is, what I want to know a bit more about this Spivey's outfit. I don't need to know anything about Bill Maloney as he sort of his face spins down the toilet bowl. He is being flushed. But if we can attach anyone else to him who is a COINTEL pro, it would be a shame to lose Spivey's website because it's very good. But if it turns out that he's just like a sort of sleeping agent who comes across as credible, and then he's just put there for a particular task, that could happen in the future again, or this could be it. This could be the thing, because Brian Gerrish, he spent a lot of years courting people's good attention, and at least about 2.5 years, maybe 2 years, I thought, yeah, no, he's good, he must be all right. And even though there was a couple of danger signs about people to do with him, which I now know is actually a very, very good way of telling people are bad, because you don't associate with bad people if you're good, and especially if it can be easily told they're bad. I would know not to, I would know to look for the negative things. If I see them, I'd confront them straight away and not just sort of like ignore them and think they might be okay. Again, Chris Spivey should not be associating with Bill Maloney. He should not be doing it. There's absolutely no justification for it. I can understand not attacking him, but the idea of putting links to him on his site, as I said, if this was a war, which it is, but you know, a hot war with guns, and he was, you know, you'd have to shoot him in the back of the head. Bill Maloney wouldn't have even got in the first place. He's too old, but too old and too incapable. He wouldn't pass the basic training, and he wouldn't be able to pass the little tests, would he? Because he's not clever enough. Probably can't read and write. And the other character, why is he associating with him? What's going on? Doesn't make any sense. I've probably missed a couple of things here. No doubt a lot of people say, you've got no evidence. Why are you saying it? You're a troll. But the whole point is, you can say that all you like. I just want to get it up there. I'm going to start uploading it now. I'll have it up on the internet. And, of course, with it being Bill Maloney, the beauty of it is you just get this like tirade of bad language from all these weird supporters who've got all these weird nicknames and handles and stuff that don't really make any sense. And you can't even understand what most of it means. It's just like, I don't even bother responding to most of them anymore because it's just completely pointless because you can't tell what they're saying. They're just using bad language. It's fucking weird. But anyway, that's the way Spivey's site is descending into. So either he's been sabotaged or he's going along with it. Quite possibly he's been sabotaged. Or quite possibly this could be cover so he could go on and do something else. So I've been sabotaged by Wolfie and Dogman and Gallows. You see what I mean? It's another possibility. And then they could go back and start working for them as moderators again and just change slightly the tone of what they were doing in the last week because, again, their behaviour has changed. I'd like to know what you think. It's my name's Tom Cahill, and it's Sunday the 20th of July 2014. As I said, I think a lot of people probably have something to say about this. I know I've gone on quite a bit, but the point is, because I don't really have enough time to put it together in a more concise way, and I could have actually spoke more, but often I'm grasping around for something to sort of to try and think of one of the other things I was going to say, and I just end up waffling. So anyway, I apologise about that. Thanks a lot.